Welcome to another episode of the Cafecito. I'm your host, Christiana. So excited to have you all with us yet again. Hope you all are staying safe and finding time to take a moment and breathe and also be connected with one another. I know it's tough times right now as we are moving into yet another season of our 2020 unfold. And my hope is that these cafecitos are beneficial in helping to enlighten you, but also connect you with resources within the community. And as you all always know, the cafecito is connecting with everyday people doing extraordinary things. And of course, we are always going to deliver extraordinary people. So today is like no other. And I would love to introduce you to someone that is so important to me and so many others in the community, Jeffrey Lacson. Jeffrey.
Hey there.
Thank
you. It's good to be here. Looking forward to this. I don't think I've ever done an interview like this before. So yeah, it's first time. So we'll see what happens. I don't have any real agenda, but we'll see where this goes.
That's right, Jeffrey. We're just going with the flow. That's what it's all about. Well, first and foremost, do you have something to drink? Because it is the cafecito, and oftentimes I forget. Do you have anything? And
I actually, let's see. Well, I have some water.
Okay,
I have water.
Water is good. Stay hydrated, okay? Well, blessed risings to you. I am drinking some lemon tea today. That is what my cafecito is today. But all right, you guys, we haven't even started yet, and Jeffrey started educating me on so much. But first, Jeffrey, before we get into your story, first tell the people who you are, your name, and what you do. What company have you founded?
Sure. Well, like you said, my name is Jeffrey Lacson, and my small business name is called Dragon Style Healing. And so basically, I have been trying to figure out the secrets of healing and good health throughout the last 15 years of my life, I would say. So everything from sports therapy to bodywork, massage, Reiki. I'm a level 3 Reiki practitioner. I got that 10 years ago. And I've even studied a little bit of hypnotherapy to go along with that. I have like a level 1 hypnosis certification. I'm also an Eldoa trainer, which few people know about. But Eldoa is those are actually exercises for your spine. So they're postural exercises, and they're exercises that realign your spine and they decompress the spine. So, for example, if you have like a disc herniation at L5S1, there's an exercise specifically for that disc that will decompress it. And so I teach that. And this is something that I just recently got actually in January of 2019. So, and this is still relatively unheard of stuff, at least here in the States, because this is something that came from France. Back in early 2000s, 80s, and now it's more available. But just to give you an idea of how new it is, there's I think only about 129 certified Eldoa coaches in the world. So still new,
Global.
Up and coming.
Wow.
Global, all in the entire world. Yeah.
And now you're one of them.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I know.
So
incredible.
So all this, like my theory with healing and kind of my thinking is that there's a few different aspects to address. One would be the physical. So like your physical body. So that's like diet, these exercise, posture. That's why I do body work and massage, to kind of realign the body. The other one would be energetic, right? So that's like my Reiki work. And then the other would be the mental, which is hypnotherapy. So like those are kind of like my triad of healing. So yeah.
I I love you just literally did the Trinity right now.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. So, Jeffrey, you mentioned several things that maybe not a lot of people know about. So, can you explain what Reiki is? What is Reiki?
Certainly. So Reiki is a hands-on uh, healing technique, and it actually came from Japan, but it's kind of arguably always been around, and it was just kind of brought back from a man in Japan. His name is Dr. Utsui. But basically, Reiki is a way for you to channel energy from a higher source uh, through you, as if you are the medium, into the client, um, and that's how the healing works. So it's not actually my energy that I'm using to heal you. That would actually be kind of bad, because then I would be drained, right? So I'm just the medium. And so when you go through Reiki training and Reiki, as they call it, attunements, what they're actually doing is you're learning about, the do's and don'ts of energy healing. But then the teacher is actually tuning your energy so that way it vibrates higher. So that way you can access that higher spirit. Now, along with that will come life changes, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be ready for that sort of thing, which is something that I guess I didn't quite realize at the time. So, it was a little bit rocky. I was a little bit of a partier when I first got my Reiki attunement. And then like, I think the spirit kind of like pulled me way out of that. And I'm like, what's going on? Because actually when I first did Reiki, I was bartending. Um,
Oh gosh,
yeah,
yeah.
bartending at a casino. Um,
Whoa, even
so,
more.
so yeah, so if you think of like a casino, I mean, the energy in a casino is heavier.
Yeah.
So there's lots of addiction. There's addiction of all kinds in a casino. It's dark, it's smoky. And here I am getting enlightened, at this time. And actually, I was I was actually fired from that job. Um, and I don't really perceive it as like, I'll tell you what happened, because it's kind of interesting story. But I was bartending one day, um, had done all three levels of my Reiki training, and a lady comes in, orders a wine. I get her the wine, and she pays with her credit card, and she puts, when you put the tip on the credit card receipt, she put 50 cents. Well, habitually I put $1 in the machine, so pretty much I overcharged her 50
Oh
cents,
yes.
and she got so upset. And I was like, it was an honest mistake. It was like muscle memory, because I'm just like boop boop boop, but I honestly didn't see it or anything like that until she brought it back up to me. So I was like, okay, like I'll fix it, like honest mistake. But she would not have it. She was just so upset. And I was like, oh gosh. So anyways, like she stormed off, and I was like, but I still fixed it. I called the manager. The manager fixed it, and she was like, you'd better write an incident report just to kind of cover your butt, right? And so I did that incident report and everything, and didn't hear anything about it until 2 months later. Security and that manager come down to my bar. I'm working, and they tell me to close out my drawer to get all my stuff, and they walk me downstairs into the underground security space there at the casino. And they had determined, after looking at the footage, and I guess this lady had complained, because she might have complained higher up, but
Yeah.
yeah, they had determined that I was trying to steal the 50 cents. And so I was let go, which at the time I was like, that's like, and I was saving up at that time to go to massage school too. So I was like, what am I going to do? But it was just kind of like one of those things when now I look back, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. I couldn't really thrive in that environment. Like the energy just didn't match. Just like mixing like oil and water, or like you take a light like helium, and it just can't settle in that heavier area. So yeah.
You know, Jeffrey, what you just did right there was something that crosses multiple ideologies. In the Christianity faith, there is a scripture that talks about how God um, turns everything for your good. Makes, you know, if there's something negative that happens, that God will turn it, will turn it over and make it for your good. And then I'm thinking about in the like positive thinking space is like, well, you know, the universe is trying to shift you in a different direction, and sometimes it can come in the form of what we perceive to be negative. Um, and when you were speaking, I'm thinking to myself, there are moments in my life where things that seem so minuscule um, at the moment turn into this like elaborate situation that causes a whole pivot to happen in my life. And because I have been practicing consciousness for so long, even from childhood, my parents would teach it to us at different levels of their understanding. And then as an adult, I took responsibility for my own. But I have learned to look at situations like that, because come on, 50 cents, and obviously it was a
Right,
mistake,
right.
but something so, you know, absurd of a small amount to turn into something where you're let go or fired, however you want to say it. But it all was working together for your good, because you needed to be pulled out of there. You would not have voluntarily left that,
Of
because
course
you
not.
were holding on to it because you saw the value connected to this larger purpose that you were being
Hmm.
pulled to. But that wasn't the design, the modem, the vehicle that was going to fully take you to where you needed to. It had its end point. And for you to recognize, whether it was immediate or delayed, that, you know what, it's okay, this is going to work in my favor. I had to be pulled out of that so that I could fully focus and be in a better space, and trust that you will be provided for as this is happening, is why is why you're in my life, Jeffrey, is why we were drawn together. I mean, I didn't even tell you all how we even met. I mean, I didn't, you know, randomly meet Jeffrey off the street. There was this whole story behind my even being brought to him. I was in transition myself in 2017, May of 2017. I was on my way to Turks and Caicos for a birthday celebration for myself. And I was in North Carolina sitting next to this woman who struck up a conversation with me, lovely, and started talking to me about her nephew, who's a healer, because I was talking to her about my position at the time. I was in corporate America and it was stressful, and I was on my way to Turks and Caicos to relax and be one with nature. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're in San Diego, you need to connect with him. And I just put it away in my book. I was reading a book about intentionality, put it in my book and forgot about it. Fast forward to September, I had left. Me and that corporate company had parted ways, because I had come to the end of my assignment there. I wasn't ready to leave, but there was no more, I couldn't fit there anymore. Great company, great people, but I didn't, it was time for me to move to my next assignment, but I didn't know how to do that. And so I went to not Paris, Italy, and for another vacation to get away. I need to go, I'm trying to find, I'm seeking, right? Come back, rejuvenated, get in a car accident. And I was searching for who to go to because I didn't know anyone really in San Diego. And I remembered the card that was given to me all those months back in May. And I went to Jeffrey. And the first thing he did was he looked at me and started engaging, asking questions. And he had me stand facing him and then away from him. And he was doing a whole body assessment on me, was able to tell me exactly what I needed, what he was, the modalities that he was going to work on me with. And this is how I knew that he was genuine. I told you all, I came to him because I was in a car accident. So come on, the insurance is paying for this. So oftentimes, you're in situations where you say insurance is paying. Oh, that means we're going to rack up a bill here because what, you're not paying. And, this man said to me, all right, you're only going to need 3 sessions. And I almost felt like, wait, what do you mean 3 sessions? Like, because again, I'm expecting him to say 10, 15, 20. And because my thought process is, oh, well, I'm not paying. So, however many I need. And he said 3 should be good enough. And then once we get to the 3rd one, then I'll assess and see if there's something else that you will need that I can provide or refer you to. And after that, he referred me to another expert to finish up some other work, but his work was done with me. And throughout the 3 sessions that I had with Jeffrey, it was so emotional for me. I don't know if you remember, this has been 3 years, you guys, but I've referred him to family, to friends, and now I'm bringing him to you all here. But it was emotional for me because it was all those times that I was traveling to get away to find, nature and find myself and find the peace, what he was able to do through the work, and then also me taking responsibility myself. I recognized that I had everything I needed within in order to heal myself, but I needed guidance for that. And that is why I'm bringing you here today to the people, Jeffrey, is because oftentimes we band-aid things with medication or self-medicate with alcohol or gambling or sex or any of those things that we have been led to believe are feel-goods to help us get through things, and that it's okay to utilize those methods or pathways in order to do that. But what I am most excited about to deep dive with you on today is how to be intentional with assessing what is going on with self and being open to receive how that is going to manifest to you. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. I started, I wasn't always like this. When I was 18, young, around that time, I was like the opposite of this. So I was very like destructive. I was an atheist, I guess it would be how I was. Like I would have just rejected all of this kind of stuff. But at the same time, I was just miserable in my situation. Like I felt like I wasn't going anywhere. I didn't go to college. I did do like a little bit of community college to do some audio engineering of all things. But I didn't get the 4-year degree, and I mean, I just felt stuck in life. I was flipping burgers. That was my job. And one day I was just fed up, and I just looked up and said, God, I just need to know the truth. And I think it was at that moment when I actually started on this path. Because before I hadn't asked. Like I just rejected. I just was like, whatever, I'm my own person. Like I do what I want, I do my thing. But like that was the first time I actually just dropped everything and I asked something higher. And then I started, learning. I started finding books about, holistic health and that sort of thing. and then, from there, my journey kind of came together. But what I've learned, and this is the answer basically to your question, is really it's when we feel separate from God or the universe, or that the spirit, however you define it, but it's really when you feel separate, that's when the problems come. Like I've trained myself, and I'm still not perfect at it, to always feel like I am actually part of God's work, and to lead and to accept that. Even right now, I'm just letting God flow through me right now. Like it's kind of like that reminder. And when you do that, then you're always doing God's work. And so you kind of feel like the pressure's off you, and then you can accept these different things, and you can kind of see it from far away too, even though you're in it, and then that's when you can be like, oh, okay, I understand why that happened now, or like why I met you, or all these little things. So I think it is like, it's just reminding yourself that you are part of God, and when you realize that, and when you can flow with that, then your life is going to take all sorts of these interesting and great turns that you didn't even imagine were possible. I would not have imagined I would be doing this kind of work, 20 years ago, 15, or even like 10 years ago. Like, I was like imagining like, big home and like vacations and like chicks and like, very material type of stuff. And I would have never, if you had told me you'd be doing this kind of work several years ago, I'd have been like, no, I'm not going to be doing that, but here I am, and there are no regrets whatsoever. I'd rather be here doing what I'm doing now than anything else.
Wow. I appreciate you bringing it back to center of understanding your worth, because when you're understanding your worth, it's due in part because you're connected to a life source. You're recognizing that you come from a higher source. And if you come from a higher source, then that means there is this larger assignment that you're connected to. And then that's when you go to, okay, well, what is that? And you're you're seeking that out. But I also, in what you were saying, I heard, that you decided that you were going to change the narrative by asking the question, help,
Mm-hmm.
or why, and you heard something. And I think when people do that and they don't hear, I often go back to something that I heard once, that um, the light, the source of life, is always communicating with us. But like a radio station, if you're in your car, and I know not everybody listens to radio anymore, most people are like live streaming music or whatever. But when you're driving, and even if you're live streaming music, I mean, this analogy still applies. When you go through dead zones, and it's like coming in and out, coming in and out, coming in and out. I feel that that is how our light source communicates with us. Like when we're going too fast and we're focused on all these other things, but the light, it's going in and out, in and out, in and out. And if our frequency is so low, it's turned down, the volume is turned down so low, when it is coming into focus, or the waves are aligning, and it comes through, we may miss it because we're expecting to hear like this loud voice, or this monumental,
Right.
and it's usually quiet. And I mean, for me, it's always like something like, be still. I often will say, I know it's trying to get my attention when I find myself tripping. Like I'll literally be walking, there's nothing in front of me, and I'll trip. And I'm like, okay, let me slow. Like I'm moving too fast. I need to focus. So thank you for sharing that. Talk to me a little bit about, so, someone like me who came to you and I was coming for the pain of this accident. I was rear-ended, right? But you were able to assess and see other things. So what does that process look like? Someone comes to you, and whether they're coming to you saying, I was referred because I need a good masseuse or a deep tissue masseuse, or I'm coming to you because I was in a car accident, or I'm coming to you because I'm trying to connect. Like, what does that process look like when someone first comes to you?
So when I do something like a body reading or body analysis with something like a car accident, um, what I'm basically doing is I'm looking for the shifts, the rotations. Maybe you have a shoulder that's up high, like all these little clues that can give me an idea of where where the muscles or the fascia, which the fascia is what actually wraps the muscles, which is really what I'm addressing, where it's shortened and where it's lengthened. Now, typically, where you feel it, where you're feeling the pain, is where actually tissue is overstretched. So, so I know that to look on the opposite side. I know to look in, if it's in the back, I'll look in the front. If it's on the right, I'll look in the left. And so that's how it works. Most of the time, that's how it works. Very few instances have I found that if you have some kind of pain, let's say, in the front of the shoulder, it's almost never where I'm going to address. It's always going to be in the back, or in even the hips. I mean, I've treated plantar fasciitis by working on the neck, and so all the body, it's, I say it, and I'm sure you might have heard it, but it's all connected,
Yeah.
and so that's what I'm doing is I'm not just focused on what hurts. I need to look at all of you to get a good idea of where this is coming from. So yeah, and that's how I do most of my assessments, you know.
Wow. That makes so much sense because I remember when it was my second visit and I was telling you that I had pain here, and you were like, okay. And you were like, raise your, I was like, what? No, I told you I have pain here. And you said, I know, raise your hand, raise your arm. You worked underneath in my armpit
That's right.
to fix something that was like up here somewhere. And I could feel, and you were telling me that it was out, there was three that had popped out of socket, whatever it was, I forget the term. And you walked me through like how to respond to what you were about to do to me, to prepare my body and my mind. So yeah, now that you said, I'm like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. 'Cause, yeah.
That's right.
So, well, so when you're doing this and you're working on someone, I mean, we've been talking about energy, like how do you prepare yourself to do? I know you said that you don't use your own energy because if you did, then you would be depleted. So you have to pull from a higher source, but
Mhm.
you still are using your body. So how do you, and you told me you used to party a lot. So like, what do you do now? Like, how do you help to keep yourself in alignment to do the work you do?
Yeah. So as far as the physical work that comes with massage and body work, that's where my karate training comes in handy. I actually, the brown belt in Kempo karate, I did that a few years ago. But I will say, when I was in massage school, learning this stuff, we did Tai Chi almost every day. And we also
The
did some other
slow
things.
movement
Yeah,
one?
yeah, exactly. And the whole idea is because that's proper alignment. Well, of course, Tai Chi, karate, martial arts, they're basically the same type of movement, except one is, faster and more aggressive, and the other is gentle. So while I was learning karate, I was learning also massage. And so I was like, whoa, these two are different, but they're the same thing. So I got into the habit of like, while I'm doing work, my massage, I was thinking of it as karate training, and then when I was doing karate, I thought of it as um, as massage training. But when I do the work, I have that alignment. You know, I have the alignment, so I'm really not doing a whole lot of like muscular effort into, because you remember it's deep work. You know, it's like I get in there. You
Yeah.
know, I don't use oil for, you know, just so you know, like I don't use oil.
Yeah.
And it's a very also slow, you know, I'm not going very fast. Like I'm very
Right.
patient and I'm waiting, you know, I'm waiting for the tissue to shift and to move. And so you have to kind of hold this, but be moving in slow motion too. So it's all about alignment, right?
Yeah.
And that's also where the eldoas come in too, because those exercises are another thing that I've done almost daily to keep my spine in alignment and to keep myself pretty much decompressed. So there is a lot to it. And even with like the fingers,
Hmm.
um, I'll do like push-ups, you know, on my fingers, or like I'll do things to strengthen my fingers, because there was a time when the joints of my fingers were starting to get inflamed and very sore.
Hmm.
And I couldn't even like pick up chopsticks. So I started doing, you know, karate exercises. And that has been what has been able to make this more sustainable for me. And I've been doing this for almost 9 years, massage that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost 9 years. And so 9 years of doing that, it can catch up to you. But this is kind of an example of like yin and yang, you know, or something hard like karate will supplement something soft and gentle like healing, or you know, and vice versa. So I feel like I was able to balance those two.
You have. That makes, okay, so you've given me the physical way that you sustain yourself. What is the spiritual, what is the internal ways that you have helped to protect and heal and cleanse and rejuvenate? Because I'm a big proponent of daily cleansing for
Right.
um, you know, just in general, but we should do it like cleanse the body, but especially in the line of work you do.
Yeah. And so for that, for the energetic part of it, what I do is, well, I ask, you know, so I always ask for protection. Like that's very important, is that you do ask for some kind of protection,
Mhm.
right? And I also will do Reiki on myself, and then I'll also do meditations um, to basically bring healing energy through myself. So um, between those things, like that's pretty sufficient, I hope. You
Do
know,
you go to
you also,
someone as well to help to guide through that? Do you actually go to someone?
um, I do have my teacher that I will go to when I really feel like I need um, I need something else
Mhm.
for the most part, and she's in Temecula. Her name is Iaka Ong Iaka Ongyeja Onyeka. Ong, ah, it's hard to pronounce.
Say-
Well,
So
I just say Iaka Ong, you know, Iaka. But I'll
it's
go to her, and I still go to her regularly for training and kind of like more shamanic uh, type healing, and it's what's called like ascension or higher consciousness. And so
shama. Wait, say that. What kind of healing?
it's like shamanic healing or shamanic knowledge.
What is
And
shamanic healing? I've
so
never.
this is when we start talking about more energetic. We're talking about four elements. We're talking about, you know, we have like, I talk about higher self, right? You know, well, with this kind of training, now you're trying to actually go up and you're trying to blend that into you. So you're trying to bring your higher version of yourself
Yeah.
into this body. Okay. And this is kind of like the secrets that have been lost over the
Yes.
years. You know, the you can see remnants of this in all religions, you
Yes.
know, and you can even see some of the more advanced quantum physics in science are starting to kind of like realize that, you know, there's more dimensions
Right.
going on here, and that we're actually multi-dimensional beings.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And so we're at that time where it's starting to become more known. And it is the right time for that, because the earth is starting to change for good. Like the earth is vibrating higher. And a lot of what we're seeing now, with the changes in the world, we're seeing a time where a lot of the old ways
Yes.
are clinging, because those that vibration can no longer can no longer be a part of this planet, because the planet's going up. And a lot of the reason why this is because so many people have woken up and
Yes.
are connecting.
No, keep talking. Listen.
Yeah, so yeah, we're all raising consciousness. And the thing is, like, because the earth is changing and
Mhm.
it's vibrating higher, now more people have the ability to reach higher consciousness. Whereas 500 years ago, it was so difficult for anyone to move up in consciousness. It was just the system. It was just the consciousness, you know, because
Because
of
we
the
had
technology.
fallen so far away from it.
Exactly. Yeah, we'd fallen so far away, and a lot of this knowledge was just kept to certain people, certain organizations. You
Yeah.
know, so now it's like coming back, and it's an exciting time to be alive, I will say. Um, so yeah, now is a great time to work on yourself.
Jeffrey, you okay. So you're going to levels that I wanted to, and we're gonna have a part two. I didn't tell you this, but we're gonna have a part two. Because what I wanted to move into next is the what you see happening in our current um, uh, environment, but what it's going to look like as we move forward, because so much has happened in this year, and those of us who were connected could sense something was coming, and we didn't maybe know, like myself, I didn't really know what it was or how. I just could feel it. I could feel, and there were people around me that could just feel it. But I want to, in our part two, I want to talk more about that when I bring you back. But right now, I want to actually have you talk a little bit about, so you were saying, I do believe in everything that you're saying. I do practice it. I look for literature. I look for people like you and your teacher. And even in my family, like we practice these things. But Dr. Emoto Morusu, I think is how you pronounce his name. He
Yeah.
wrote the Secrets of Water. Is that what it's called?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Secrets
Secrets in
of
the
Water.
water, or something like that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And he talked about frequency, and he talked about vibration. And he said that um, we are all vibrating at a certain frequency, and that we can, if we're at a 5, we can vibrate 2 octaves below or 2 octaves above. So if you're at a 5 and you're vibrating, you have the ability to vibrate 2 octaves above you, so you put yourself in that space, then you're going to elevate, um, you know, much more quicker, because you're doing the intentional conscious work. And if you go 2 octaves below, lower, it's because, again, you're doing the intentional work, but you may not necessarily be conscious that you are going below. What are your thoughts on, and he went on to talk about relationships too. This is why it was so intriguing, because he was saying, it's important to know when you're connecting with someone where they are vibrating. Because if you're at a 5 and they're 2 octaves below you, that's a 3. And he went on to talk about when they're below you, as they're coming up, you have to come down
Hmm. Hmm.
to connect with them. And that when you do come up together, you have this false sense of of coming up higher because you think you're going back up higher, but in actuality, you're only going up to 4 because
Yeah.
you had to come down to meet them to come up. Now they're coming up, but you're only at 4 when you were at 5. So now you have to work to get back to 5. If that is what are your thoughts about that? Like what, like,
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting because, a lot of people you're going to run into are going to be, lower. And with those studies, when they saw how water changed based on, what you would say to it, or he put labels on them. I think there's a lot of truth to that, especially because we're like about 70% water. So, and there's a lot of people who are, who say they're empaths, which I guess I would say I would be the same way.
yeah,
So the thing with that is that when you there's being affected, you can be affected by the world, right? But again, we go back to, not being more of a source of light than being a reflection of it. So if you hold yourself higher, then you're going to be able to bring those up higher, and those that they can't join you, they're not going to be able to join you. They're going to have to find something else or not come up. So this is where, like, as someone who does this kind of work, I've learned to hold myself strong, rather than, feeling that I have to, like, lower, and because that's like easier said than done. I mean, I'm no master at that for sure. But there is something to holding yourself higher, and a lot of it is actually tuning into this area here, which some people call the heart. So, it is like, this is like one of the most sensitive areas, I think, for a lot of people, and I know it is for me. And so, like, actually tuning in here and then opening that up, it's very sensitive. It's like, especially because so many of us have had trauma here, have been heartbroken or whatever. It's hard to, like, not callous that. But when you can open up and you can hold this strong, you'll start to realize that the people that want to join you are gonna come into your life, or they're gonna come up a little bit. It's not gonna pull you down so much. It's like being a source of light, rather than a reaction or a reflection of other lights. Being at the mercy of the world in some respect.
I like how you put that. I like how you put that. Wow.
Yeah.
So, will you come back for our part 2?
Yeah, this is fun. I'm like, I can't believe how fast it went. But
I definitely want to bring you back for part 2 because I want to hear your thoughts on, like I said, where we are as not a country. Like that's irrelevant. I want to know, the world that we are in now. I want to talk about that and where we're going and how
yeah,
do we build ourselves up to not only survive but thrive. So I want to talk about that with you in our next segment, but and then also obviously go deeper with even some movements that we can do to
yeah.
help ourselves. I'd like to, and then I have a ton of stuff that I wanted to ask you about as well. Like I wear, certain things, and I wanted to ask you about that as well. So I'm excited for you coming back on and talking about, these things with us. But for this segment, you all can connect with Jeffrey in several spaces. Jeffrey, tell them where you can be connected with right now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, right now you can send me an email if you're interested in any work. My email is dragonstylehealing@gmail.com. And that's like the best way. I'm kind of working on a website right now, so hopefully that'll be good to go by our next meeting. But right now, that's probably the best way. I generally do more referral because I no longer am working for like a company, um, or like just a company. So I'm kind of on my own right now, and maybe we could talk about stuff like that too next time. That's another interesting story. But yeah, that's the best way is you can email me there, and then also calling and texting, which I mean I can provide all that too. So
And of course, you're connected with myself. So anyone who's wanting more information, it's going to be up on our We the Plug membership page. Actually, it's already on there. And then also I'll make sure that it's made available on our other platforms as
right.
well. So as well.
That's another reason. Like I'm doing more like referral based stuff because when you throw yourself out there, you get all sorts of people, and
Yeah. Gotta vet. Definitely have to vet. But well, thank you so much to Jeffrey for sharing. Again, definitely tune in for our part 2 segment with Jeffrey, and I'm excited to have him back. Thank you so much for joining us today. See you on our next episode. Talk to you soon. Be safe.
Yeah. Thank you, Christiana. Thank you.